whatever. We rented bikes. Kind of just hop around and keep some area rules, short everywhere. People wearing like better 580 suits. It was the middle of the summer too. What do you mean? Well, it's fun to ride the bike. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was not gonna be here till 9.
Are you training the house also? Hey, we're going to care over our best friend is probably my couple there. Training. She asked my wife was like, plan the shower. I'm like, somehow we always end up doing it's like, and she told me that her mom, dad are allowed in the host their club care house. Club care house is like, Indianapolis public golf course, right? So let's make sure we don't think it's too much, but we're eating food and beverage, I guess. So I was like, well, that's,
Yeah.
you never know who you get that from. My wife's like 4 years, $40, $150. The other day I gave her, what do you mean? Well, help us in mouth? She's like, no, you need feeling. How do you think they can float? I'm like, I have no idea. I want to know the thing that built balloons. Okay. She's like, you know, you can buy a tank party. You think we're gonna be able to get a tank? Yeah. Put a water. Blow up the top. She's like, oh. And it's a little. And then I wanted to be like, okay, is it refillable? So if I buy the Target, I can go refill over again. Last year, my 1-year-old birthday party for our kids, my devious 6-year-old cousin came by with a knife. And, like right when the party was over, people were kind of like, who's outside? Just wait. And then he was like, oh, hey guys, this is the balloon. Oh. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I already think you guys all year, and that's the response I'm gonna get. Highly inappropriate.
How's everybody doing?
Started to look full.
I know the desks make it look weird.
That might be.
How many? Well, yeah, you're all coming. Everybody's gonna be 4 days, obviously here, right? You're already here.
Anybody switching here?
Like, none of you are any of you
The
going?
meet, all virtual?
I want to, but my mom won't.
Good,
Probably good.
good call.
Yeah.
I cannot mentally handle 3 days.
I think
So
you got it.
imagine this go up a foot and a half, you can go up a foot and a half, there'll be room for another row.
Can I be in the bathroom?
No,
Nah, we're definitely changing
you
your
just
seat.
sit right up there.
What?
Yeah, we're definitely changing your seat.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Can I at least sit by Hannah?
But whatever you want now. It's the opposite.
No.
Are you here for, are you here 4 days a week? You're not, are you? You're,
No.
right, you just do, I know Clint does.
Yeah.
I know, but Clint, Ahmed,
Yeah. you can
somebody else is
go
here,
for it.
maybe not.
Competition. Yeah.
Somebody else is here 4 days a week.
It's starting next week, I will be.
Amazing, some kid got a 10 out of 10 on his quiz, it took him 1 minute.
Well, I bet I know who it is. But I can guess. All right, good morning, Zoom. Good morning. Good to see your names on the screen. Wow, how nice. First thing we're gonna do today, this was, oh, not that. This was pulled up on the screen, so I saw a couple of you working on it already, which is fine. But for those of you just getting into Zoom, you are gonna do what that screen says. You are gonna go to Canvas, you're gonna take the imperialism survey. What is a survey? I heard no one ask. Well, a survey is a thing you're gonna take that is not graded. So you're gonna get a 10 out of 10 on it regardless of your answers. So the purpose of this, full disclosure, too much information, nobody cares. This is for my student teaching thing. I have to show progress in like, hey, they started here, they ended up there. So what you're gonna do is answer these questions. It's gonna help you on your quiz when, if and when, or not if, but when you take your quiz, a lot of these questions are gonna be the same way. So get on Canvas, go to that survey, answer the questions. You're not supposed to know the answers to them. Huh? Yeah, that's fine.
You know, in here, yeah, but, I'm already borrowing.
So yeah, you're not supposed to know the answers. So do not worry, do not freak out. Don't be upset you don't know the answers. You're not supposed to right now. So go ahead and take that. I'll give you 7 minutes to complete that. Shouldn't take that long anyway, but then we'll check back in. When you're done with the quiz, download the Motives for Imperialism Word document. There's the PowerPoint that we'll be going through today too. So if you'd like to see the PowerPoint on your computer for whatever reason, people in person or at home, you can download the PowerPoint too, but definitely do the document. It's going to help you take notes. Not that button.
What are some of these questions on the computer?
Probably. I would have given you this yesterday, but I think I got like 11 intros, so didn't really have much hope in people doing it. Y'all are getting a little too used to these 3-day weekends.
Joe, you might have to use this.
Let me check one thing here. Yeah, Daniel, you can't use your phone. Are you taking your quiz? Yeah. All right. Well, as soon as you finish that, let me know. You got about 2 minutes.
We can use this. Yeah, I'm not good. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anything else in this,
People on Zoom, send me a message saying done when you're done, please.
This right here. And it's where you can take notes and then we'll figure out how to say it to yourself, right? Or I guess actually, you're right. Plug into your own numbers. What's my blue? Nothing?
Finish on your phone.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, make sure I load that down.
Oh. Hmm. All right, everybody in person is done. So anybody on Zoom still working? You have about 30 seconds. And then make sure, if you haven't already, download Motives for Imperialism document. Word document is right below that. George, Tada, are you guys still working? All right. I'm gonna move on, so that's fine. Yeah. Daniel, how close are you, bud? I don't, 8 or 9? 9, thank you. All right. Yeah, if you're not sure, that's fine. I'd be shocked if any of you, not any of you, but I wouldn't have known this and up until a few weeks ago. So do not beat yourself up over it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. You guys can hit submit when you are done. No pressure at all. You can hit submit now if you want to. All right, so one quick reminder before getting started. Today is the last day I'm going to take those Communism for Kids books. So the ones I've gotten have been very good for the most part. It's been really cool to actually see you guys' creativity come out a little bit better than me talking at you and you taking quizzes and that type of boring stuff all the time. So it's been cool to see your creativity come out. But today is the last day of the grading period, which I'm sure you probably know by now. I think you need to turn it in by 4. So if there's anybody here in person who has not turned one in yet, and they don't have it with them to turn in, as soon as you get home, set a reminder, do what you gotta do, to take pictures of that and upload it to Canvas. Anybody on Zoom, upload it to Canvas whenever you get time. I think it's pretty cut and dry. Are there any questions or concerns about that? As I expected. All right, everybody off their phones, please and thank you. We'll be there when I'm done. All right, so new unit today. Imperialism, the causes, effects of it. Today we're going to talk about the causes of European imperialism upon peoples in Africa, Asia, and Oceania, also known as the Pacific Islands. It is a very important concept, not only for what we're studying, because everything's important, but also because a lot of the concepts and the things that started in this time period have a huge effect on our world today and how our country specifically and other countries operate. So the learning objective analyze those causes of European imperialism on people in Africa, Asia, and Oceania. So the development of imperialism happens over time, like pretty much any other development that we're aware of in social studies. Late 19th century, in other words, the late 1800s into the early 1900s, the biggest countries, the most technologically advanced, economically advanced, starting to bully other smaller countries. Imperialism, definition-wise, is a nation's use of their power to gain economic, political, or social control over other parts of the world. Imperialist nations were highly industrialized. So what we're going to see is the nations that did the best during the Industrial Revolution, the time period that, even though we talked about it before right now, is still the same time period as this right here. Those nations that did the best are going to do the best in imperializing other countries too, because they have the most resources, money, military, etc. It is new imperialism, new being emphasized because imperialism has been around for a very long time. We can look at the Romans or the Greeks or the Byzantines or anywhere else that extends their territory and keeps on going. The stronger group of people throughout human history tends to like to take advantage of the weaker groups of people. Tends to just be a pattern that we see. So that's what the new refers to. Historians refer to this also because a lot of these ideologies and principles, specifically social Darwinism, which we've talked about in the past, start to take shape and start to influence the decision-making of the leaders of certain countries. That's what characterizes this period, is these motivations right here. So this is where your note sheet, Kyra, how you doing? Did you have an appointment? You all right? You said orthodontist, right?
Yes.
Ugh.
Oh, I can't read
The
it.
worst.
It's when I put on the thing, it's I put it on
Okay. Dude, I don't care if you use your phone. Yeah, that's fine. You can throw my computer wherever, or close it or whatever you gotta do. So these 6 main factors that motivate imperialism are spell out the word empire. Should be easy for you to remember in that case. First E being exploratory, second letter M being military, third political for P, the I is ideological, R religious, and the second E, arguably the most important, is economic. We're going to talk about each one of these. So if you don't get any of this information, don't worry about it. Number one, the PowerPoint's already on Canvas. So if you're taking a quiz in the future, you can always go back to that, or your new notes that you're taking right now. Or we're going to go back at the end of the class anyway when we have some extra time. So exploratory being the first E. Thank you, Dan. Pretty straightforward, being the word explore is in the word exploratory. They are searching rather the world to find stuff, resources, people. Oh, Kyra, there's a document on Canvas that they're using to fill out their notes with this, by the way. Under today. So resources that can be used, people to be quote civilized, and maps, which you see on the right side of the screen here, to be filled out. This is Africa in the 1800s, according to Europeans. Hence, these countries around here being in color, and all of these areas in the middle being unexplored. So according to Europeans, it's like they know they exist, but it's like, we don't know anything about them, so we can't put them on our maps. They don't look at this the same way as they would say, look at Europe or even China or Asia or the Americas. Very different. So some of the goals, some of the things you want to remember exploratory for. Number one is to map new territory. To locate indigenous or native peoples. And to identify natural resources, animals, plants, materials, so they can turn them into stuff and then sell them, which we'll get to, the other E, economics. All right, so each one of these is going to have some evidence, some quotes that are spoken mainly by the people that lived during this time. So each one of these, as you can see on your document, you're going to put into your own words. This one being, all great nations in the fullness of their strength have desired to set their mark upon barbarian lands, and those who fail to participate in this great rivalry will play a pitiable role in time to come. Atticus, what's that getting at? How would you put that in your own words?
Everyone's trying to get to the places like, and if you don't do it, then you won't become powerful.
Good. Everyone, all the great nations are trying to, in their words, get to barbarian lands, get to unexplored lands. And those who don't will play a pitiable role. As you said, I can't remember what word you used. We'll pay for it, or
They will fail at being powerful.
good. Yeah, those who don't will fail at being powerful. So out of all the ones listed, this is probably the most innocent of these six. This is pretty like, okay, I want to make new maps and I want to find resources and find people. This is like one of the better motivations for imperialism. A lot of these run over with each one. Some of them kind of relate or are the same thing for each one. All right, so the second letter, the second motivation, military. Being from the United States, this is definitely something we can all relate to and know about. Make sure your country is protected by having the biggest military. As somebody who, or a country who is militarily by far the biggest in the world and spends the most money on their military by far in the world, this is something that is no brainer to us. That's how you protect strategic pieces. That's how you go on to explore places and then protect the resources once you get them. As I mentioned earlier, technology and industry play a huge role in this, not only in industrializing in the economical sense, but also in literal warfare. The industrialized nations, as I mentioned before, the ones who did best are going to do best militarily. These advanced weapons, for the first time on a large scale, let a short or small number of people, small number of armies, or small armies rather, take out a huge number of people in a big amount of land all at once. These people, Europeans being these people, Europeans used advanced weapons like machine guns, like cannons, like more efficient rifles against African warriors who did not have the same type of weaponry or technology. So the top left hand there is maybe the most important piece of especially African advancement by Europeans, the Maxim gun. We will hopefully have time to watch a video talking about that. I don't know if we will. but definitely the most widely used. I don't know if it's the first machine gun ever, but it's definitely the most widely used at this time period, and helps European armies just completely bloodily obliterate African armies who are fighting with cool looking weapons, but definitely not as effective of weapons on the right hand side there. There were a couple of exceptions to colonial rule in Africa, but not too many. So goals of military, as you can probably guess, are number one, to maintain national security, to protect yourself. The second one here is probably the most important, to have the biggest military, which means the most power. And then to have a strategic advantage through waterways. Great Britain, by far the best Navy in the world, so they controlled pretty much the entire world's oceans, or as much as they could. And then connecting colonies need to be free and open in order to make money. So I mentioned that a lot of these motivations spill into one another. One of them it tends to spill over is military and economy. This quote will get into that a little bit. What do nations care about the cost of war? If by spending a few hundred millions in steel and gunpowder, they can gain 1,000 millions in diamonds and cocoa. Clint, what's that getting at?
You can spend a lot of money on guns and gunpowder, you can get a lot more from the countries you're taking on.
Yeah, for sure. It's an investment, I guess, is a good way to look at it. And then talk about stuff that we still view the same way today. You invest a little bit or a lot in your military. That military can then go to other places, take power, and exploit their resources: diamonds, cocoa, cotton, lumber, whatever it might be. All right, moving on. The P in empire, meaning political. So let's see. This is my second to last week. Nationalism is going to come up after I'm gone, after spring break. So Mr. Burnett's going to be teaching you guys about nationalism. Huh? Yeah, it's my program's pretty much done once I get enough data and get observation. I'll have one more observation next Wednesday. And then after that, I have enough stuff from the last couple months that I'm done. So yeah, the next week will be my last week. And then obviously we have spring break, and then Mr. Burnett will take back over. So he is going to talk about nationalism and alliance systems in Europe and around the world that causes World War I. But our quick overlook of it right now is a feeling of intense pride in one's nation, including its language and culture. This is no brainer to us because we're from America, and especially in America, I would say that nationalism is very high. Football and apple pie and fried chicken and just all the good stuff. Fair enough, but that's I didn't know that. That's cool. Right? Way off topic. Does anybody watch the Great British Baking Show?
Yes.
How good is that show? My girlfriend put
I don't know.
it's
Do they make eel pie on that show?
yeah, like weirdly, like it season 2 or 3, and they did this weird like little caveat of like a history lesson for like 15 minutes, which even as a history guy, I did not enjoy. It was this weird little, but yeah, they did. But yeah,
I found something very interesting. This is very off topic, but I left.
Oh,
looked
I-
up who's the biggest network.
I
and it
took us
says
there.
Jeff Bezos, but it has a picture of Elon Musk.
oh yeah, it's going back and forth. Yeah, because Musk's his Tesla stock is what gets him. Plus, they invest in a lot of Bitcoin, which is tough to kind of value.
It says Jeff Bezos. but it's a picture of Elon Musk.
Yeah, I think once you have that much money, it's like,
They want to represent both.
I guess so. Well, it's just gone back and forth here recently quite a bit. Yeah, I don't even think Bezos gets paid by Amazon anymore. I think it's just his.
He's not the CEO.
Yeah, I think it's just his net worth. Or-
This is,
Yeah. All right, anyway, sharp left turn on that. All right, so for the citizens of many American, or excuse me, European nations, the colonies weren't just a source of wealth, they were a source of pride. Like the bottom right-hand picture specifically kind of shows that, where it shows that represents England, and their many hands all over the globe. They're not only there for extracting natural resources and civilizing indigenous people, but also to brag about how many countries you have under your belt. So politically, it is a huge advantage, especially in Southeast Asia, which we'll talk about on Thursday. Great Britain started the process of imperializing Southeastern Asia, but France pretty much had to match that process. Otherwise, their whole interest in the area would have been overrun and taken over. So they had to match that. And a lot of that was because of political pride. So some goals for political is to claim land for the mother country. To make sure their country had more resources than other countries. And to control another country's government. Southeastern Asia specifically, we're going to learn about direct versus indirect rule. I think it even talked about on your intros for those of you who did do them, and the differences of that. But regardless, taking over other people's countries is a big part of the political motivation of imperialism. So the quote is from a former prime minister of France. Keep that in mind when we're going to do this, putting in our own words. But he says, nations are great in our times only by means of the activities which they develop. France ought to propagate this influence throughout the world and carry everyone that she can, her language, her customs, her flag, her arms, and her genius. What is that getting at? Logan? Get my big head out of the way.
I guess it'd probably be like the greatest in development, and then like the language, the flag, custom computer.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, nations, they're great based on the fact that they influence other nations. Great nations are great because they influence other nations. And like Logan said, their language, like they view all these things as superior, their language, their customs, how they act, the flag, their arms, and their genius. Sounds like a French thing to say. Yep, how smart they are. Good. How's it? Is everybody good? Have something typed? All right.
Did you hear the storm last night?
I did. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I know, it was scared.
I was scared.
I did, like, yeah, especially with how cold it was. I was not expecting there to be like thunder. All right, the I in empire, ideological. There is a term that is highlighted 3 times on there and that we've talked about in the past before. And it is important, not only for the time that it was in, but right now a little bit too. Social Darwinism. This is the application of Charles Darwin's theories of natural selection and his belief of the survival of the fittest. So if we'll remember from our previous time talking about social Darwinism, it was taking the fit of the society, taking that theory of natural selection and applying it to society, how we run our countries, how we execute our vision. They just some people believe that their societies were better than others. There's no way around that. And there's also no way around the fact that a lot of this is based in racism. A lot of this is based in my race, my culture, my language, going back to the previous slide, is better than yours. Therefore, it's our duty to spread our way of life onto you. The stronger societies conquer weak ones. That's how it happens in nature. And that's how it should happen in society, is what these people believed. So they need to make non-Europeans' way of life better. They viewed it not only as like a fact of life, but their duty as well. So some goals for this is to improve non-Europeans' way of life. Just said that. To make others more like Europeans. And then to make them adopt a European perspective. Europeans definitely get the blunt of the blame in these slides, but is this strictly a European thing? Let's say no, I tend to agree. I think America gets off a little easy with these slides. It's a world history class after all, and you're going to talk about American imperialism in other classes. So that's why it's focusing on Europe, but definitely bear in mind, America is no exception here. All right, and then out of all the quotes, this might be the grossest, but same guy, Jules Ferry, former Prime Minister of France. He says, I repeat that the superior races have a right because they have a duty. They have the duty to civilize the inferior races. In the history of earlier centuries, these duties, gentlemen, have often been misunderstood. But in our time, I maintain that European nations acquit themselves with generosity, with grandeur, and with a sincerity of this superior civilizing duty. Elizabeth, what are they saying? Yeah, definitely entitled, for sure. Anybody, for those on Zoom, anybody from a superior race or people who think they're from a superior race have a right or an entitlement to civilize inferior races. Another word that sticks out to me is duty, and that too. It's not only a right, but like it's my job. I have to do this. This is like what the job of my race is and our culture is to do for the rest of humanity. We're about to learn this term called white man's burden, which you've actually might have heard before. The white man's burden gets into the same type of thought where we owe it to the world to civilize them and show them the world. Yeah.
You said if people think they're in a better race, then they'll act different.
No, I would say like the line of this thinking is people from superior races believe it's their job to civilize, or you can say teach, inferior races.
What does that mean?
Inferior meaning like weaker, less fit, to use that social Darwinism term. So fit races have a right to, yeah, fit races have a right and a duty. You're right. All right, we good? Avery, you good?
Yep.
All right. Yep. All right, so one that's closely aligned with ideology, religious. The R in empire, religious. Some Europeans took imperialism as a means of a religious or humanitarian approach. They thought it was their responsibility to morally teach civilized or primitive people. Specifically, I don't mean to pick on Christianity, but at this point in time, it was Christians, sought to convert native people to Christianity. As you can see by those pictures, Catholic priests holding indigenous children, teaching them, showing them the proper way to live. And then the picture on the bottom right, I think, is telling as well. The Christian missionary who, if you look at the crowd, they're all in black and white. The only color on the picture is the words Christian imperialism and the speaker themselves, this beacon of hope, the beacon of light that's spreading their message to the, as it says down below, white man's burden, heathen masses.
Didn't like the Catholic Church say something really weird?
About what?
controversial.
I'll go on a hunch and say probably, but what,
I heard something like they got about a lot of backlash for saying something. It was like a news article.
maybe,
That popped up on my phone.
yeah.
I didn't click on it.
Yeah. I don't know. My girlfriend's family is very Catholic, so I'm sure it was a hot topic of discussion if they did. Yeah, go ahead.
What's a heathen mass?
So heathen masses. So masses meaning a bunch of people. Heathen meaning, like heathen is like people that are not civilized or don't have manners, I guess is a real simple way to say it. Don't know how to behave correctly, whatever that means. Pretty much the white man's burden is believing that white people have the correct way of life, religious life in this case, and that it's their job to teach other people how to think about God, to pursue and to believe spiritual. Especially in Africa, you saw it with like their tribal religions, the polytheistic religions, many gods, probably not all of them, but the majority of them. And Christianity sought to teach them that there was one God. In India, there was more of a Buddhist and Hindu culture that they would continually oppress. Great British officials specifically caused some unrest in Burma due to like ignoring Buddhist religious practices and yeah, just essentially ignoring the culture, religious culture of the area, which caused a lot of unrest in general. So the goals of religious motivation to convert Native people to Christian religion. Oh, yeah, is it bad? Is it classroom appropriate?
I mean, it's
Just
not bad. It's not like bad enough to be classroom appropriate, but it's still bad.
What was about?
It says Vatican will not bless same-sex unions, but prays for gay Catholics.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
That's ironic. Gotcha. Yeah, that'll get the headlines. Second goal, to convince Native people that their religion is wrong or evil. I think that's probably the most succinct way you can say it.
you said Catholic is like good people.
So these people believed that Native people thought about religion wrong, essentially. That second bullet point, to convince Native people that their religion is wrong or evil. And then to change the beliefs of the next generation. Christian people make Christian babies. Christian babies have more kids who are also Christian babies. So the quote here, the Catholic faith and the Christian religion be exalted and everywhere increased and spread. That the health of souls be cared for and that barbarous nations be overthrown and brought to faith itself. David Bunting, what do you think they're saying?
That they think that they'll make us better by having the religious practice.
Very good. Yeah. These people thought that they would make places better, people better, by spreading Catholic and Christian thought and religion. Yeah, barbarous nations meaning like barbarian is a linked word, related word, uncivilized, unfit. Notice they say the faith too, not like bring to faith, but like the faith implies that there's one way. All right, bear with me guys, we got one last one left here. Yay. All right, so for those spelling experts, the second E in empire, economics. Economics is the key to really a lot of nations' developments and political movements to this day. Definitely don't think that imperialism through economics has gone away, because it is alive and well. And being in the country we're in, I think we should all, or do all, probably know that. But colonies were not just a source of natural resources. They weren't just a source to explore and to find new people. They were a way to make money, and they were a way to find those natural resources and turn them into manufactured goods. That way they could be sold for money. Factory owners wanted new sources of raw materials. That way they could use those raw materials and manufacture them into finished goods. As it says here, the Industrial Revolution, that's what that was all about. Even like I said, I think I said in this class, it's my third one today, the Industrial Revolution, even though we talked about it first, that doesn't mean it happened first. These are all happening at the same time. So manufacturers or factory owners wanted these kingdoms and control of the resources of these kingdoms in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific Islands. They would use these raw materials. So this is one example of what we're talking about. England would get cotton from India through really almost slave labor, and then cotton from the Americas through absolute slave labor. They would use that raw material to turn into manufactured goods, as you can see here, the same picture from the Industrial Revolution. These kids in the on the machines, they would make products, and then they would go and sell those products right back to the indigenous people. So not only were you extracting minerals and materials from here, you were then selling them right back at the end of the day. So who wins out in that scenario?
Basically, it's just circle.
Gets very good. Yes. Who wins out in this scenario, Ava? You got shapes down, man. Yeah, England for sure. Manufacturers for sure. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So goals for economics. They were to obtain and to produce goods. That is what's known as supply in economics. For those of you lucky enough to take that class in a couple of years, you'll take it with Mr. Dickerson, the rude teacher that comes in here and says weird stuff sometimes. Mr.
The guy that comes in and interrupts us. Almost.
Yeah, right.
That guy?
Yeah, he teaches economics. So if you want to take his class, that's what you got to take. He's weird, but he's funny, man. He tries to though. He'll come in. He goes light on you, like not you, but like this class. He goes into like Mr. Brunette's AP classes, and he'll literally go up to kids and be like, "What is your name?" Like just scream at them. It's like, dude, and like yeah, and just he's rough. Get the native people to say what?
Nothing. That's
Texas.
a good thing this isn't Texas.
Why?
Because probably someone would hit him.
Oh,
Just wind up and
you're allowed to
I
steal.
feel like anybody would do that in any state. I would grab the button.
people are very aggressive.
Just
I
Texas.
feel like very people are very aggressive in every state.
Just Texas, huh? All right. It's my fault for bringing Mr. Dickerson. To get the native people to purchase European goods and services, that's known as demand. Got the supply versus demand. They obviously rely on each other. And then the most important goal out of all those is to make money. If you're gonna write down anything, I'd write down that. All right. The evidence of economics, the last one here. The majority of the raw materials were agricultural products produced in plantations. Plantation crops included tea, India, coffee, cotton, and jute. Look up what jute is, somebody.
I'll do it.
All right.
Don't forget.
Another crop was opium. There you go, Atticus. The British shipped opium to China and exchanged it for tea, which they then fiber.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Why? Wait, what is opium? Opium.
So that's a good question.
Drug.
So, yeah, no, I know it's a drug, but like,
Oh,
what was it
oh,
for?
opium is opium you smoke. It is similar to heroin. If
Oh,
you,
okay.
I think it is heroin light. Yeah.
I thought that's gross.
Still very potent in and of itself. But yeah, hopefully we have time next week to talk about the trade of British opium to China via Britain, because it's number one, interesting, and number two, it shows a lot of how economics works on a national level. Maybe even today, maybe not with drugs, maybe with drugs, but selling addictive products to countries in order to get their populations hooked on them. And then it puts the other country in a not great position because all their people want that product. You could look at it as drugs in the 1800s. You could look at it as electronics today. China makes all the electronics we use, or at least the majority of them. And I would say most of us are very hooked on those electronics.
Like, their materials are like drugs.
You could, I mean, yeah, like I wouldn't, don't write that down.
Apparently opium is still very expensive. As of 2002, opium retail price was $16,000 per kilogram.
It sounds like a lot.
What?
I don't, yeah, I don't want to ask. I don't want to ask. Yeah, all right, yeah.
Why don't we just switch to the method?
I don't know.
Everyone else uses it.
Because America, it goes back to what? Which type of motivation? It's a political pride. Yeah, it's cultural pride. We don't,
America's stupid.
in some ways, it's really tough to argue that. Yeah. In other ways, it's tough not to say. All right. What'd you say?
A kilometer is shorter than-
That's fine. I mean, that's fine. It's not gonna help her at all. But hey, if you want to look at it like that, it's definitely not like drug. I mean, yeah, it's just that was one example. Is British shipped opium to China, and then China would then trade that for tea, and then the Chinese government got really upset at Britain for doing that, so they outlawed opium, and then Britain sent it to them anyway because there's still a demand for it, and then also because people from Great Britain wanted their tea still. So
So basically like the trading.
yeah, but like an illegal trading system, which obviously doesn't happen today by any means. Totally not. We are all above board here. All right, so we got a couple minutes left. We got for those on Zoom, I'm gonna post a exit ticket in your chat. Go there, fill that out. For those on or in person, it's on Canvas. Go and click the link. There are like 2 multiple choice questions, 1 other short answer question. Put your name, and that's class. Oh yeah, so deny. I will. Yeah, fair enough. We'll go over that last one because we got a little sidetracked here. And then if there's any others that somebody didn't get, whether in person or Zoom, send me a message on Zoom or say so in person. So economics, the majority of raw materials, if you're going to put this in your own words, you can say that countries or imperialists or nations want raw materials to manufacture into goods in order to sell around the world. So this top one, raw materials in order to make goods, in order to make money. Put all 3 of those together, and that's what that's all about. Zoom, is there any others that you missed? If so, send me a message on or direct message. Say what? Did everybody do you do extra ticket?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, do me a favor. There's a quiz that you'll get 10 out of 10 on. But just go take it. It's like a pre-assessment or a survey just to see where you're at. Military quote, I will bring up right now. So the military quote, what do nations care about the cost of war if by spending a few hundred millions in steel and gunpowder, they gain thousand millions. And so you can say that nations pay for the cost of war in order to gain economic advantage, or nations invest in war to gain a profit. It's really just about like the top goals there: maintaining national security, gaining natural resources. What? Yeah, Denia. Once you guys do the exit ticket, you are free to go. Have a good rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. All right.